Right, hi folks. Today, or this week, is going to be a bit of a week of experimenting. I've got a load of doors and drawer fronts to make for various rooms and projects around the house, and also the camper van. Now, instead of just rattling off the 15, 20 doors I need to make in the same way, which is probably the most efficient way to do it, I haven't worked with many of these methods before, so I figured we kind of learn together, but I'd also use 3 or 4 different techniques to make the very same door. We've got to only work with the tools you've got, so hopefully by the end of this you'll find a way that suits you, or you just go out and buy them, which would be the sensible thing to do. Now, materials. I'm going to use this poplar, which I've got a bit more in the corner, so my first job is to rip that down into the width of the frame. Today's all about getting everything set up and the materials. Quite often I get asked about why did I buy a track saw if I've already got a table saw, and today's the first time I've had to use that in months, and I don't know if you could see on there, but the dust extraction on there is such an unrefined tool. I know you can get much better machines, but that budget one, it just makes such a mess. You know, I cleaned down all the surfaces here in the workshop last week, stupidly. But it is nice, so if you're doing lots of repeat cuts like that, it does have an advantage over the track saw. But we're done now. So what I've got is 2 widths of material. For the main kitchen doors, or the utility doors, I'm using wider to match the kitchen. So they're going to be 85mm when they're finished. Whereas the bathroom and also the camper van, I can get away with using some narrower strips, and that meant I could get more out of each. But before I cut them down into lengths, I need to do all the thicknessing, because the thicknesser and most thicknesses, you end up with a bit of snipe at the end. You always end up with a bit of waste. So if I was to cut these to length into sections now, then put them through, I'd end up having to cut, I'd have more wastage. So if I can deal with them in one length, that's in one piece, that's much better. A little bit on the setup here. First up, Triton thicknesser, got a few years ago. I've thrown a lot of hardwoods, oak beams, oak kind of boards at here, and as long as you take a little nibble at a time, it can do full width, so it's 12-inch, 300mm boards. And there's not much for £200 or whatever this costs. There's not much that can do that. you then jump up into commercial machines. Now, recently when I was at a show at Yandles, I saw that the Triton team on their display stand, this is how they set up all their tools, just in the jaws, and it makes a lot of sense because I just mounted it to this board. I don't have to have a permanent trolley or anything for it. It's just a nice way to go. No need to build legs or anything. So I also upgraded to this adapter here. I've always just put a normal vac hose like the one down there on here. It's just a nightmare. It clogs at this point here. There's just a bottleneck. Whereas by getting this adapter, which takes it up to a 4-inch or 100mm tube, and then this flexi going into here, just no problems at all. The only issue is if I go through that hose there, I can use it through my homemade cyclone system thing over here. Loads of capacity here, not so much here. So we're going to have to empty this several times. Conveniently, the table saw happens to be the right height. Don't you love it when that happens? As you saw, I actually ended up putting these through on their sides, which is not ideal, simply because you've got nothing to reference it against like you would if you had a planer and you were jointing the edges. I did actually clamp a straight edge or another piece of timber underneath, so I kind of did an upside down planing job. And having looked at these now, they're pretty good actually, they're pretty square. And by putting 2 or 3 together as you put them through, they're not going to tip. I was kind of holding them as I went, but probably not ideal. Right, just doing my little cut list here. I'll just explain how I'm getting to it. This is our door. So we've got a stile either side and a rail top and bottom. They're all cut from the same timber. Our base units and our wall units are 720 high. So I'm going 5mm less, so it's a 715 piece on either side. And then to work out this section, for the first technique, we need to allow for the tenon section of this that's going into the rails. So I've got the first few. I'm going to get the short sides out of these shorter lengths first, but remember we've got that snipe to deal with, and you basically just need to hold it up into the light to see, and it's just where you've got a mil or 2 more taken off as it enters the thicknesser and quite often as it exits. But you can put one board in straight after another, which can help prevent that. All of our good ends are pointing away, so now we'll set up another little stop block and cut our pairs. Right, time for a little bit more thinking. The first method I'm going to be using on these shaker doors is going to be the standard groove and tenon type traditional method. But to do that, I'm going to use some shaker door or tongue and groove type bits for the router. I think we need to be quite precise in that the bearing is what's going to set the length of that tenon, so we need to make sure we get this right, otherwise the shoulder of our cut is going to be less and then the whole door is going to be wrong. So that's definitely 13mm. Here's a good way to explain. So we've got the groove. This is basically the same as what we're doing. We've got a groove going all the way down our stiles, down our rails, sorry, and then where the rail goes into the stile, we've got this tenon to cut. Well, there we go. That is all the prep done for the shaker door marathon that I've got this week. This is enough for all of the utility the 15 doors and drawers in the camper van and a couple of other cupboards. There's going to be a fourth method we're going to use, which is using just sheet material, so none of this whole planing, thicknessing, all that sort of stuff to worry about for those ones. But this is the bulk of it. Within all this, there are 3 different methods we're going to use. It's hopefully going to be an interesting week. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all goes. I was just about to try and rig up a temporary router table, but it's proving a little bit more tricky. So whether I see if I can pick up a budget router table for this, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, ready for the next stage. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to stay along with this series and all the other DIY videos. But thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.